The explosions lit up the dark sky like angry stars. Captain Doyen pressed his back against the broken wall and checked his weapon. His squad was spread out behind him, waiting for his signal. They had one job tonight: watch the enemy convoy and report back. Nothing more. No fighting, no contact. The Velkari soldiers moved through the ruins of the old city, their tall frames casting long shadows. Doyen had fought them for 3 years now. He knew how they moved, how they thought. They were efficient killers who never took prisoners and never showed mercy. The war between humans and the Velkari Empire had burned through 12 worlds already. Doyen raised his hand to signal his team to fall back. They had seen enough. But then the ground shook with a different kind of explosion. Not the artillery they expected. This came from above. Old defense drones left over from some forgotten war screamed down from the clouds. Their targeting systems had gone crazy years ago. Now they just killed everything that moved. The Velkari convoy scattered. Their vehicles exploded one by one as the drones fired without stopping. Doyen watched through his scope as Velkari soldiers ran for cover. Some made it. Most did not. The drones did not care who they killed. Then Doyen saw the small transport vehicle. It was painted with medical symbols, now burning at one end. Through the smoke, he saw movement. Something small. The vehicle's door was jammed shut and flames were spreading fast. His second-in-command, Corporal Sungmin, grabbed his arm. "Sir, we need to move. Those drones will spot us next." Doyen kept watching the burning vehicle. The movement became clearer. A child. Small hands pressed against the window. A Velkari child. Probably no more than 6 years old by their standards. The flames were getting closer to the passenger area. "Captain, we have our orders," Sungmin said, his voice tight. "We extract now." Doyen pulled his arm free. He checked the distance. 50 meters of open ground. The drones were circling back for another attack. Velkari soldiers were shooting at the sky, trying to bring them down. Nobody was paying attention to the burning vehicle. "Get the team to the extraction point," Doyen said. He started checking his gear. "Sir?" Sungmin stared at him. "What are you doing?" "That's a child in there. That's a Velkari in there. An enemy." "Captain, this is insane." Doyen looked at his friend. They had served together for 5 years. Survived battles that should have killed them both. "I'm not leaving a kid to burn alive. Get the team out." "That's an order." "Doyen, please, go." Sungmin hesitated, then nodded. He knew that look. There was no changing Doyen's mind now. The rest of the squad started moving back toward the forest. They looked back at their captain with worry in their eyes. Doyen took a deep breath and ran. The open ground felt like it stretched forever. His boots pounded the broken concrete. Energy blasts from the fighting Velkari forces lit up the air around him. He did not know if they were shooting at him or the drones. It did not matter. He kept running. A drone spotted him. Its weapons locked on. Doyen threw himself sideways as plasma bolts tore up the ground where he had been. He rolled, came up running, and kept going. 20 meters, 15. The Velkari child's face was pressed against the window now. Her eyes were wide with fear. She was screaming, but Doyen could not hear it over the sounds of battle. 10 meters. The heat from the burning vehicle hit him like a wall. He slammed into the side of the transport and grabbed the door handle. Locked. The metal was already too hot to touch for long. He pulled out his emergency tool and jammed it into the seal. The door resisted. Flames were crawling along the roof now. "Come on," Doyen growled. He put all his weight into it. The door broke open with a screech of metal. Smoke poured out, making him cough. Inside, the Velkari child was strapped into a safety seat. Her gray skin was streaked with tears. She looked up at him with those large, dark eyes. Doyen did not speak Velkari. She did not speak human languages. But fear was universal. "It's okay," he said, trying to keep his voice calm. "I've got you." He reached in and worked the safety straps. They were designed for Velkari hands, and he fumbled with them. The heat was getting worse. His arms were starting to burn. Finally, the straps came loose. He pulled the child free and held her against his chest. That was when the next explosion hit. The transport's fuel cells went up. The blast threw Doyen forward. He curled around the child as they hit the ground hard. His back screamed with pain. Something in his leg broke with a sound he felt more than heard. But the Velkari child was safe in his arms, crying but alive. Doyen tried to stand. His left leg would not hold his weight. He fell, caught himself with one hand, and kept the child protected with the other. He started crawling, Had to get away from the fire, had to get the kid to safety. Velkari soldiers were running toward them now. Doyen's vision was getting blurry. Smoke and pain. He could not tell if they were trying to help or shoot him. He put the child down gently on clear ground away from the flames. "You're safe now," he told her. She probably did not understand the words, but maybe she understood the meaning. Strong hands grabbed him. Not gentle. They flipped him onto his back. Velkari soldiers stood over him, their weapons pointed at his face. They were shouting in their language. One kicked his weapon away. Through the crowd of soldiers, a tall Velkari woman pushed forward. She wore the armor of a high commander. Her face was a mask of cold fury, but when she saw the child, something broke through. She dropped to her knees and pulled the little girl into her arms. The child was crying, saying something over and over. The commander held her tight, checking her for injuries. Then those cold eyes found Doyen. She stood slowly, handing the child to another soldier. She walked to where Doyen lay bleeding on the ground and looked down at him for a long moment. Her expression was unreadable. She said something in Velkari. Her soldiers grabbed Doyen and dragged him to his feet. His broken leg made him scream. The world spun. The last thing Doyen saw before passing out was the Velkari child reaching back toward him. Her small hand extended as her mother pulled her away to safety. The drones were still screaming overhead. The fires were still burning. And Captain Doyen had just become a prisoner of war. Doyen woke up in a white room. Everything hurt. His leg was wrapped in bandages and held in some kind of brace. Burns covered his arms and back. The pain medication was doing its job, but not well enough. When he tried to move, his body reminded him why that was a bad idea. The room was small but clean. Not a cell exactly, more like a medical bay. The walls were smooth metal. One wall was transparent, looking out into a corridor where Velkari guards stood watch. They noticed when he opened his eyes. One spoke into a communication device. Minutes later, the door opened. The Velkari commander from the battlefield walked in. Up close, she was even more imposing. She stood at least 7 feet tall, with the lean, strong build common to her species. Her gray skin had patterns of darker markings that Doyen knew indicated military rank. Her eyes were black and showed nothing. She stood at the foot of his bed and studied him in silence. Doyen met her gaze. He had been trained for capture. Say nothing. Give nothing. Survive until rescue or escape. "You are Captain Doyen of the human forces," she said in perfect human language. Her voice was cold and precise. "You saved my daughter. So the child was hers." That explained the look on her face at the battlefield. Doyen said nothing. "I am Commander Mira of the Velkari Third Fleet. You are my prisoner now." She moved to the side of the bed, looking down at him. "This facility is attached to my command ship. You will not be held with other prisoners of war. You will stay here where I can observe you directly." Doyen found his voice. It came out rougher than he expected. "The child? She's okay?" Mira's expression did not change, but something flickered in those dark eyes. "Hana is unharmed." "Because of you. Good. Why did you do it?" Here it was. The first question. Doyen had expected interrogation about troop movements, battle plans, command structures. Not this. "She needed help," he said simply. Mira stared at him. "You risked your life for an enemy child. You abandoned your mission. You were nearly killed. For what purpose?" "I just told you. She needed help." "That is not an answer. What intelligence were you gathering? What tactical advantage did you seek?" Doyen shifted, trying to find a position that hurt less. There was none. No intelligence. No tactics. She was a kid trapped in a burning vehicle. I got her out. Impossible. Mira's voice was flat. No soldier abandons their mission without reason. No one risks death without calculating advantage. You are lying. I'm telling you the truth. The truth is you humans are trying to appear compassionate. This was propaganda. You knew we were recording the battlefield. You wanted to create an image of human mercy. Doyen almost laughed, but it hurt too much. "Commander, I didn't even know your soldiers were there until I was already running. I saw a kid in danger, I helped. That's all." Mira leaned closer. "In Velkari culture, we have a concept. Debt and honor. You saved my daughter's life. This creates debt, but I do not trust your motives. Until I understand what you truly want, you remain here." She straightened and walked toward the door. "You will be given medical care, food, water. In exchange, you will answer my questions. If you cooperate, your conditions will improve. If you resist, they will not. I'm a prisoner of war. I have rights under— You are not in a standard prison camp, Mira interrupted. You are in my private custody. The rules are different here. I suggest you think carefully about your situation, Captain. She left. The door sealed behind her with a soft hiss. Over the next days, Doyen learned the routine of his new prison. Medical staff came twice daily to check his injuries. They were professional and efficient, never speaking to him beyond medical necessity. The food was bland but adequate. He had a small bathroom attached to his room. The transparent wall remained clear at all times. No privacy except in the bathroom. Mira came every day, sometimes twice. She asked the same questions in different ways. Why did you save Hana? What did you hope to gain? What information do you have about human military operations? Doyen answered the first two questions the same way each time. He had saved Hana because it was the right thing to do. He wanted nothing in return. As for military information, he gave the standard response: name, rank, serial number. This frustrated Mira. He could see it in the way her hands would clench when he repeated his simple explanation. She did not understand. In her world, everything had a reason. Every action had a calculated purpose. Selfless sacrifice did not exist in Velkari thinking. On the fifth day, Mira brought a tablet. I have been studying human history, she said. Your wars, your conflicts, your behavior patterns. There are examples of soldiers helping enemies, but always with purpose. Exchange of prisoners. Gaining trust. Strategic mercy. Your action fits no pattern. Maybe you're looking at it wrong, Doyen said. His leg was healing, but slowly. The Velkari doctors were good, but they were not used to treating human injuries. Maybe not everything needs a strategic reason. That is illogical, is it? You're a mother. If you saw a human child in danger, would you help? Mira's expression hardened. No. That child would grow to be an enemy soldier. Saving them would be tactically foolish. Even if the child was right in front of you screaming for help. Emotion is weakness. It clouds judgment. It leads to poor decisions. But Mira looked away when she said it. On the seventh day, something changed. Doyen was allowed to move to a larger room. Still a cell, but with a window showing stars and a small area with a table and chairs. His leg was healing enough to walk with a crutch. The transparent wall remained. Through it, he could see Velkari crew members passing in the corridor. Some ignored him. Others stared with open curiosity. He was a strange creature to them. A human who had acted in ways their culture could not explain. On the eighth day, the door opened and a small figure ran in. Hana. She was followed immediately by 2 guards and a Velkari female in science officer uniform. The little girl stopped when she saw Doyen, suddenly shy. She held a piece of paper in her hands. The science officer spoke in human language. I am G1 research specialist. Commander Mira has allowed a brief visit. The child has been asking to see you. Doyen lowered himself to one knee, getting down to Hana's level. It hurt his healing leg, but he ignored it. Hey there, he said softly. Hana took a step forward. She held out the paper. It was a drawing done in bright colors. A figure pulling another figure from flames. A child's interpretation of her rescue. For you, Jiwan translated. She says thank you. Doyen took the drawing carefully. His throat felt tight. Tell her she's very welcome. Tell her I'm glad she's safe, Jiwan translated. Hana smiled. The first smile Doyen had seen from any Velkari. Then she did something that made the guards tense up. She stepped forward and hugged Doyen's leg. Doyen froze. The guards reached for their weapons. Jiwan raised a hand to stop them. Doyen gently patted the child's back. It's okay, kid. You're okay now. Hana said something in Velkari. Jiwan's eyes widened. She called you friend. That is unusual. From the doorway, Commander Mira watched. Doyen had not seen her enter. Her face was unreadable, but she was watching the scene with intense focus. She spoke sharply in Velkari. Jiwan gently pulled Hana back. Time to go, little one. As they led the child away, Hana waved at Doyen. He waved back. Mira remained in the doorway after they left. She looked at Doyen for a long moment. You truly expected nothing in return, she said quietly. It was not a question this time. It was a realization. I told you that from the start. I did not believe such a thing was possible. Mira turned to leave, then paused. Your healing will take time. While you recover, I will continue to observe you, Captain. I will understand what you are one way or another. After she left, Doyen looked down at the drawing in his hands. A child's simple thank you. He had saved one life and lost his freedom. Most people would call that a bad trade. But looking at Hana's smiling drawing, Doyen could not bring himself to regret it. 2 weeks passed. Doyen's leg grew stronger. The burns on his arms and back faded to pink scars. The Velkari medical staff were efficient, if not friendly. They treated his body like a machine that needed repair, nothing more. Commander Mira expanded his privileges. He was allowed access to a small garden area for 1 hour each day. It was really just a room with artificial sunlight and some plants that Velkari cultivated for food, but after being confined to his cell, it felt like freedom. Doyen noticed he was being watched constantly. Not just by the guards. Small cameras tracked his every movement. He saw Mira sometimes in the corridors, observing from a distance. She was studying him like a scientist with an interesting specimen. Jiwan, the science officer, became a regular visitor. Unlike Mira's cold interrogations, Jiwan seemed genuinely curious. She brought a tablet and took notes while they talked. "Tell me about human families," she said one day. They sat across from each other at the small table in his cell. "How do you raise your young?" Doyen thought about his own childhood. His parents working long hours to give him and his sister opportunities. "We protect them, teach them, try to give them better lives than we had. Even at cost to yourselves? Especially at cost to ourselves. That's what parents do." Jiwan made notes. In Velkari culture, offspring must prove their worth. Weak children are given less resources. Only the strong receive full investment. That's horrible. That is survival. Resources are limited. Why waste them on those who will not contribute? Doyen shook his head. Because every child deserves a chance. Because they're children. They didn't ask to be born. You speak of fairness, but life is not fair. The universe does not care about deserve. Maybe not. But we can care. That's what makes us different from the universe. Jiwan studied him. Commander Mira believes you are either lying or mentally defective. No rational being thinks this way. And what do you think? I think you believe what you say. I think human culture has evolved differently than ours. You value the collective over the individual. You sacrifice personal gain for group benefit, she paused. It should make you weak. But somehow you are winning the war. It was true. Humans were winning. Not because they had better weapons or tactics, but because they fought for each other. Velkari soldiers fought for individual glory and advancement. Human soldiers fought for the person next to them. Tell me a story, Jiwan said. A human story about sacrifice, Doyen thought for a moment. There was a ship captain once. Her vessel was damaged in battle, losing oxygen. There were escape pods, but not enough for everyone. She gave her spot to a young crew member. Said he had more life ahead of him. She died when the ship's air ran out. What did she gain from this? Nothing. She died. Then she was foolish. She saved a life. That was worth more to her than her own survival. Jiwan made more notes. Commander Mira is writing a tactical analysis of human psychology. She believes your compassion is a weakness we can exploit. If we threaten civilians, humans will abandon strategic positions to save them. If we capture soldiers, humans will trade valuable assets for their return. Doyen felt a chill. You're not wrong. We would do those things. Yet you are winning the war. Because we fight harder when we're protecting something. Your soldiers fight for themselves. Ours fight for each other. When things get desperate, that difference matters. G1 was quiet for a long time. This is troubling data. It contradicts our fundamental understanding of warfare. Hana visited again 3 days later. This time she brought more drawings and a book of Velkari children's stories. She could not read it to him because he did not understand the language, but she showed him the pictures, stories of young Velkari proving themselves through trials and challenges. Tough stories for a kid, Doyen said. Jiwan, who supervised the visit, translated. Velkari children must learn early that survival requires strength. These stories teach proper values. Doyen looked at Hana. She was pointing at a picture of a young Velkari climbing a mountain alone. She looked proud. But she was just a child like any human child. She wanted to show off her book and share her stories. What about stories of friendship? Doyen asked. Working together? Helping each other? Those would teach weakness. Or they'd teach that we're stronger together. After Hana left, Doyen was surprised when a different visitor came. A human. The man was thin, wearing a Valkyrie uniform. He looked nervous. My name is Junho, he said in Korean. I work for the Velkari now. Translation and cultural consultation. He glanced at the cameras. I'm supposed to encourage you to cooperate. Give them intelligence. They'll treat you better if you do. You're a traitor, Junho flinched. I'm a survivor. I was captured 2 years ago. I chose to live. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. Listen, Captain. Commander Mira is obsessed with you. She's convinced you're part of some elaborate human strategy, but High Command is getting impatient. They want you transferred for enhanced interrogation. Torture. Yes. And then execution. You have maybe a few weeks before they override Mira's authority. Junho stood to leave. I've seen what they do in those facilities. Whatever reason you have for being here, it's not worth dying for. After Junho left, Doyen sat alone with his thoughts. He could give them false information, but they would figure it out eventually. He could tell them the truth about what he knew, but that would betray his fellow soldiers. Or he could stay silent and wait for whatever came next. That night, he woke to find Mira standing in his cell. The door was open. She stood by the window looking out at the stars. I have been watching the recordings of your conversations, she said without turning. Every word, every expression. I have analyzed your biometric data during questioning. Heart rate, breathing, eye movement. You are not lying. This troubles me greatly, Doyen sat up. Why does it trouble you? Because if you are telling the truth, then my entire understanding of warfare is incomplete. If humans truly act without calculated self-interest, then our tactical models are flawed. She finally turned to look at him. Do you know what Hana said today? She asked me why we cannot be friends with humans. She said if you could save her, maybe humans are not really enemies. She's a smart kid. She is a child infected with dangerous thoughts because of you. Mira's voice was hard, but something underneath it was uncertain. I should never have allowed her to visit you. I should never have studied you this closely. You are a contamination, Captain Doyen. Is that what you call someone who makes you question your beliefs? Mira moved to the door. High Command wants you transferred in 14 days. I have delayed as long as I can. I suggest you use this time to reconsider your silence. Give us something. Tactical data, troop positions, anything. I can justify keeping you here longer if you provide value. And if I don't, then you will be transferred to a facility where Jiwon's conversations and Hana's visits will seem like pleasant memories. She paused at the doorway. Despite what you may think, I do not wish to see you tortured. You saved my daughter's life. That means something even if I do not understand why you did it. Then let me go. Impossible. You are an enemy combatant. You have information we need. I saved your daughter. Mira's hands clenched. That is precisely the problem. In Velkari culture, I owe you a debt. A life debt. But you are also my enemy and my prisoner. These facts cannot coexist. Until I resolve this contradiction, you remain here, she left. The door sealed. Doyen lay back down and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere on this ship, a little girl was sleeping safely because he had pulled her from a burning vehicle. High Command wanted him tortured and killed, and Commander Mira was caught between her culture's rules and something she could not quite name. He had 2 weeks to figure out which force would win. The attack came without warning. Doyen was in the garden area when the first explosion rocked the ship. The artificial sunlight flickered. Alarm systems screamed to life. Through the transparent walls, he saw Velkari crew members running through corridors. 2 guards rushed into the garden, weapons drawn. One barked something in Velkari and pointed back toward his cell. They were moving him to secure holding during the emergency. Standard procedure, but they never made it. The ship lurched violently. The lights went out completely, replaced by dim red emergency lighting. A massive explosion somewhere deep in the vessel sent all 3 of them crashing to the floor. The guards' weapons skittered away in different directions. Doyen's military training kicked in. He grabbed one of the weapons and checked the charge, full. The guards were struggling to stand, disoriented from the impact. He could shoot them, escape in the chaos. It would be the smart tactical move. He helped them to their feet instead. Both guards stared at him in shock. He handed one of them back their weapon. They did not shoot him. They just stared. More explosions. Closer now. The ship's communication system crackled to life with Mira's voice barking orders in Velkari. Doyen caught a few words he had learned. Hull breach, evacuate. Section sealing. One of the guards grabbed Doyen's arm and pulled him toward his cell. They were still doing their job, even in crisis. The other guard led the way, weapon ready. They made it halfway down the corridor when the ceiling collapsed. Debris rained down. The guard in front took the worst of it. He went down hard, buried under twisted metal. The second guard was thrown backward. Doyen felt something slam into his shoulder, spinning him around. Pain exploded through his recently healed body. When the dust settled, the corridor was blocked. Behind them was clear. Ahead was impassable, and from somewhere beyond the debris, Doyen heard screaming. Valkyrie voices crying for help. The guard with Doyen was speaking frantically into his communication device. No response. The system was down. He looked at Doyen, then at the blocked corridor. He was trying to decide what to do. Prisoner or rescue mission, Doyen made the decision for him. He moved to the debris pile and started pulling away pieces of metal. The guard stared at him for 3 seconds, then joined him. Together, they cleared enough to see through. 5 Valkyrie crew members were trapped in the section beyond. One was Commander Mira. She was pinned under a support beam, her leg twisted at a wrong angle. 2 other crew members were trying to lift it off her. A 4th was unconscious against the wall. The 5th was Jiwon, bleeding from a head wound but still on her feet. Jiwon saw Doyen through the gap. Her eyes went wide. "The prisoner," she said in human language. Mira turned her head, pain etched across her face. When she saw Doyen, something complicated crossed her expression. "Get him back to his cell," she ordered the guard in Valkyrie. The guard responded, but Doyen did not need translation. The man was saying the corridor was blocked. They were trapped, too. Black smoke was starting to fill the far section. Doyen recognized the smell. Electrical fire and something worse. Chemical. The ship's atmosphere system was damaged. How long before that section is sealed? Doyen asked Jiwon. She checked a wall panel. Her hands were shaking. 3 minutes. Maybe less. Emergency protocols will seal all breached sections to protect the rest of the ship. Can you override it? Not from here. The main controls are offline. Doyen looked at the debris blocking the corridor. Then he looked at his cell's door, hanging open from the emergency. Inside his cell, he could see the control panel. Not the main security system, but the local environmental controls. Every cell had them. Standard design to prevent prisoner suffocation if the main system failed. "I need to get to my cell's panel," he said. The guard blocked his path immediately. "No, prisoner stays here. That panel can access secondary systems. I was a ship engineer before I was a soldier. I can override the seal from there," Jiwon translated for Mira. The commander's face was gray with pain. She said something sharp. "Commander says you will escape," Jiwon translated. "She says we seal this section and accept losses." Doyen looked at Mira directly. "I'm not leaving you to die." "Why not?" Mira's voice was strained. "I am your enemy. Your captor. You owe me nothing. You're Hana's mother. That's enough." For a moment, nobody moved. The smoke was getting thicker in the far section. One of the crew members was coughing badly now. The guard looked between Doyen and Mira, waiting for orders. Mira closed her eyes. "Let him try." The guard stepped aside. Doyen ran to his cell and accessed the control panel. His fingers flew over the interface. The Valkyrie systems were different from human designs, but engineering principles were universal. Power flow, environmental controls, emergency overrides. The ship's computer was trying to seal the damaged section. Doyen had to convince it the section was already secure. He rerouted sensor data, faking readings that showed stable atmosphere and hull integrity. It was a hack that would not last long, but it did not need to. The sealing mechanism stopped with 10 seconds to spare. "Done," Doyen shouted. "But we need to move. That section is still on fire." The guard and Doyen ran back to the debris pile. They cleared more space, making a gap just wide enough to crawl through. Jiwon came through first, then helped guide the unconscious crew member through. The other 2 crew members working on Mira finally got the beam lifted enough. They pulled her free. Mira screamed when they moved her. Her leg was badly broken, but she was alive. They were carrying her toward the gap when the far wall exploded inward, not debris this time. A breaching charge. And through the smoke came human soldiers in combat armor. "A rescue team, contact. Valkyrie forces." One shouted, raising his weapon. "Hold fire!" Doyen yelled in Korean. "Hold your fire!" Wounded non-combatants. The team leader pushed forward. Lieutenant Hyunsu from Doyen's battalion. His eyes went wide when he saw Doyen. "Captain?" "Sir, we've been searching for you." Command authorized a rescue operation when we detected the Valkyrie ship was under attack. These crew members are wounded, Doyen said. We need to evacuate them. Sir, they're enemy combatants. They're wounded. We evacuate wounded, Hyunsu. That's the rules of war. Captain, our mission is to extract you. We have limited time before their reinforcements arrive. Doyen looked at Mira. She was watching him, her face pale from pain and shock. She was waiting to see what he would do. Save himself or help his enemy. We take them to the nearest evacuation point, Doyen ordered. That's a direct order, Lieutenant. Hyunsu hesitated. Then he nodded. Yes, sir. Team, support the wounded. Move out. The human soldiers helped carry Mira and the other injured Valkyrie. They moved through the damaged ship quickly, efficiently. More explosions shook the vessel. Whatever was attacking, they were doing serious damage. They reached an evacuation bay. Escape pods lined the walls. The human team started helping the Valkyrie into pods, setting them for automatic pilot to the nearest safe zone. As they loaded Mira into a pod, she grabbed Doyen's arm. Her grip was surprisingly strong for someone so injured. You saved me again, why? Same reason as before. You needed help. I have held you prisoner. Interrogated you. Threatened you. Yeah. You also let Hana visit me. You gave me books to read and a garden to walk in. You treated my wounds. Doyen gently loosened her grip. You're not just my enemy, Commander. You're a person. And I don't leave people to die if I can help it. Mira stared at him. Then she said something in Valkyrie. Jiwon being loaded into the next pod translated. She says you are the most confusing and frustrating creature she has ever encountered. Doyen smiled. I get that a lot, Hyunsu called out. Captain, we need to go. This ship won't last another 10 minutes. They were running toward the human extraction point when debris fell again. A support structure collapsed right in Doyun's path. He dove sideways, felt something heavy slam into his ribs. Pain erupted through his chest. He could not breathe. Hyunsu was there instantly, pulling him free. Medic, Captain's injured! Through the chaos and pain, Doyen saw the last evacuation pod launch. Mira's pod. She was safe. The rest of the Valkyrie crew was safe. That was good. Everything went dark. Doyen woke in a human medical facility. The familiar beeping of monitors and the smell of antiseptic told him he was home. Or at least back with his own people. His ribs were wrapped tight. Every breath hurt, but the pain was manageable. A nurse noticed he was awake and called for a doctor. Within minutes, his room filled with people asking questions. How did he feel? What did he remember? Could he move his fingers and toes? But the question everyone really wanted answered was, what happened during his captivity? Command sent a debriefing team. They sat around his bed with tablets and recording devices, asking about Valkyrie ship layouts, security protocols, military capabilities. Doyen answered what he could, but he found himself talking more about Mira and Jiwon and Hana than about tactical intelligence. The commander treated you well? The intelligence officer asked, surprised. She was trying to figure me out, thought I had some hidden agenda. Doyen shifted in bed, wincing. She couldn't understand why I saved her kid. Did you gain her trust? Get access to sensitive areas? No, I was a prisoner the whole time. But I learned about how they think. How their culture works. They don't have a concept of selfless action. Everything is calculated for personal gain or species survival. The intelligence officer made notes. That could be useful. We could exploit that mindset. Or we could use it to build understanding, Doyen said quietly. The officer looked up. Sir? Nothing. Are we done here? I'm tired. They left him to rest. But Doyen could not sleep. He kept thinking about Mira's face when he had saved her. The confusion and shock. She had spent weeks trying to understand his motives, convinced there had to be a hidden purpose. And then he had risked his life for her again, proving he meant exactly what he said. 3 days later, Lieutenant Hyunsu visited. He brought fresh fruit and news from the front lines. The Valkyrie ship you were on was destroyed, he said, but all the crew made it to escape pods, including that commander. That's good, is it? Hyunsu sat down. Sir, can I speak freely? Always. The men are confused. You had a chance to escape when the attack started. You could have left those Valkyrie to die. Instead, you saved them, again. Hyunsu leaned forward. Some are saying you've been compromised, that you've developed sympathy for the enemy. And what do you think? I think you did what was right, but I also think Command is watching you closely now. They're worried about your judgment. Doyen was not surprised. In war, compassion for the enemy was seen as weakness. I saved wounded non-combatants. That's not compromise. That's basic humanity, I know. I'm just warning you. Be careful what you say in reports. After Hyunsu left, Doyen stared at the ceiling and wondered what Mira was thinking right now. Was she writing new tactical analyses? Or was she questioning her own assumptions like he was? He got his answer 2 weeks later. Doyen was cleared for light duty and assigned to a communications outpost. Mostly desk work while he finished recovering. He was reviewing intelligence reports when an urgent message came through command channels. A Velkari ship was broadcasting a request for parley. They wanted to discuss potential prisoner exchange. But specifically, they were asking for Captain Doyen to be present at the negotiations. It's obviously a trap, the base commander said at the emergency briefing. They want revenge for the rescue operation. Or they want to understand what happened, Doyen said. Commander Mira was there. She saw human soldiers save Velkari lives. That goes against everything she thought she knew about us. You think she wants to talk? I think she's confused. And confusion can lead to dialogue. Command debated for 3 days. Finally, they agreed to send a small delegation to the neutral station, where the meeting would take place. Doyen would be part of the team but surrounded by security. The neutral station was old, built by a species that had gone extinct centuries ago. Now it served as a meeting ground for truces and treaties. The human delegation arrived first. Doyen wore his dress uniform, his injuries hidden beneath the crisp fabric. When the Velkari delegation arrived, Doyen's heart skipped. Mira walked at the front. She was using a cane, her leg still recovering, but she was alive. Jiwon was with her, along with several high-ranking Velkari officers. They met in a conference room with a long table between them. Both sides remained standing initially, wary and tense. Mira's eyes found Doyen immediately. She studied him for a long moment, then spoke in human language. Captain Doyen, you have recovered from your injuries. So have you, Commander. I'm glad. The other Velkari officers looked at each other. One said something sharp in their language. Mira responded calmly, not taking her eyes off Doyen. My colleagues do not understand why I requested this meeting, she said. They believe you are a standard enemy combatant. But I have explained that you are something else entirely. What am I then? That is what I am trying to determine. Mira moved to the table and sat, gesturing for everyone else to do the same. I have spent 3 weeks reviewing everything that happened on my ship. Your rescue of Hana, your refusal to provide intelligence despite pressure, your conversations with Jiwon about human culture, your rescue of me and my crew, and I can only conclude one thing. You meant every word you said. You acted without strategic purpose. You saved lives because you believed it was correct to do so. Mira paused. This should make you weak. But your forces defeated ours in that battle. Your rescue team extracted you while saving enemy crew. You demonstrated both superior combat capability and moral principle. One of the human officers spoke up. If this is leading to a surrender offer, it is not, Mira interrupted. The Velkari Empire does not surrender. But I am proposing something else. A limited ceasefire in this sector. A chance to study each other without killing. To understand what makes humans fight the way you do. You want to study us so you can exploit our weaknesses, the human officer said. Perhaps. Or perhaps I want to understand if there is a better way than constant warfare. Mira looked directly at Doyen. You saved my daughter's life. Then you saved mine. In Velkari culture, I owe you a debt. A life debt. Twice over. This debt must be repaid. I don't want repayment. I know. That is precisely what makes it so significant. Mira straightened in her chair. I am proposing an exchange of cultural liaisons. Small teams from each side stationed on neutral ground, learning from each other. No combat, no espionage. Just understanding. The human delegation erupted in whispered conversations. This was unprecedented. The Velkari had never proposed anything like this before. Why now? Doyen asked. What changed? Mira was quiet for a moment. Hana asks about you every day. She wants to know if the human who saved her is safe. She draws pictures of humans and Velkari together. She asks why we must fight. Mira's voice softened slightly, and I realize I cannot answer her. Not anymore. Not after watching you risk everything for people who were your enemies. So this is about your daughter? This is about the possibility that my daughter might be right. that perhaps there is something to learn from beings who act as you do. Mira stood. I am not promising peace, Captain. I am not even promising friendship, but I am proposing that we stop killing each other long enough to understand why you value life differently than we do. The meeting went on for hours. Negotiations about terms, security, locations, but Doyen barely heard it. He was thinking about a little girl drawing pictures of two species standing together, about a commander who admitted she did not have all the answers, about the possibility that one act of compassion could ripple outward into something larger. When the meeting finally ended, Mira approached him alone while the others filed out. I still do not understand you, she said quietly, but I think I want to. That is new for me. Understanding is a good start. Hana wanted me to give you this. Mira handed him a small envelope. Inside was another drawing. This one showed him and Hana standing together under two suns. Velkari and human symbols were drawn around them in bright colors. Tell her thank you, Doyen said, his voice thick. Tell her I'm proud of her, Mira nodded. She turned to leave, then paused. You know, in all my years of military service, I have never questioned my purpose. Victory and survival. Those were the only values that mattered. But you have made me question everything, Captain. I am not certain if I should hate you or thank you for that. Maybe both. A small smile crossed Mira's face. The first time Doyen had seen her smile. Perhaps you are right. Until we meet again, Captain Doyen. Until then, Commander Mira. She walked away and Doyen stood alone in the conference room, holding a child's drawing. Outside the windows, stars glittered in the darkness. Somewhere out there, humans and Velkari were still fighting. But here, in this moment, two enemies had chosen understanding over violence. It was a small start. But sometimes small starts led to big changes. The cultural exchange program lasted 3 months. Doyen served as one of the human representatives at the neutral station, along with 5 other carefully selected personnel. The Velkari sent an equal number, with Jiwan leading their team. Mira visited twice, always professional, always observing. Doyen taught the Velkari team about human history, ethics, family structures. They were fascinated and disturbed by concepts like volunteer firefighters, charity organizations, and parents who adopted children who were not genetically theirs. It makes no survival sense, one Velkari officer said during a discussion. Risking your life for strangers, spending resources on offspring who do not carry your genetics. How has your species not died out? Because we're stronger together, Doyen explained. When everyone looks out for each other, the whole group survives better. One person might die saving others, but the community thrives. But that individual loses everything. That individual is part of something bigger than themselves. The Velkari struggled with this. Their entire culture was built on individual achievement and calculated benefit. But slowly, Doyen saw small changes. Jiwan started helping the human staff without being asked. Another Velkari team member gave part of his meal to a human who had missed lunch due to equipment repairs. Small things, but meaningful. Then the order came from Velkari High Command. Doyen was in the station's common area when alarms blared. Security protocols activated immediately. The human team was ushered to secure quarters. Through the windows, Doyen saw Velkari military ships approaching the station. Within the hour, Mira arrived. She looked exhausted and stressed. She requested an immediate private meeting with Doyen. The human commander was suspicious, but allowed it, with security present. They know, Mira said as soon as they were alone. High Command knows about the cultural exchange, about the conversations we have been having, about what Jiwan has been reporting. What's the problem? This was an official agreement. The problem is that our reports show Velkari personnel adopting human behaviors, helping without benefit, showing concern for others. High Command views this as contamination. Mira's hands were shaking slightly. They have ordered me to terminate the exchange program and transfer all human participants to military detention for enhanced interrogation. Doyen felt cold. Enhanced interrogation? You mean torture? Yes. They want to understand how humans have infected Velkari thinking. They believe you are conducting psychological warfare. Mira looked directly at him. High Command has sent ships. They will be here in 48 hours. I have been ordered to hold all human personnel until they arrive. And will you? Mira stood and walked to the window. The stars outside seemed very distant. 3 months ago, I would have followed orders without question, but now I find myself asking why. You saved Hana. You saved me. You have shown me that there are other ways to exist beyond constant competition and calculated self-interest. What are you saying? I am saying that I am about to commit treason against the Velkari Empire. She turned back to him. I am going to help you and your team escape. All of you. Along with the Velkari members who wish to leave. Mira, they'll execute you. I know. In Velkari law, the penalty for treason is death. There is no trial, no appeal. Just execution. She smiled sadly. But I have been thinking about what you said. About being part of something bigger than yourself. About sacrifice meaning something. You have Hana to think about. I am thinking about Hana. I am thinking about the world I want her to grow up in. One where saving a child matters more than tactical advantage. Where kindness is not weakness. Mira straightened her shoulders. I am going to give her that chance, even if I do not live to see it. Doyen stood. There has to be another way. There is not. High Command will not negotiate. They see human compassion as a virus that must be eliminated. If I do nothing, your team dies. Jiwan dies. And everything we have learned here dies with you. What about the other Velkari on your crew? They'll be punished for helping. I am only taking volunteers. I have spoken with my senior staff. Jiwan has already agreed. 3 others want to come. The rest will say I took hostages and acted alone. It will protect them. A plan formed quickly. Mira's command ship was still in the station's docking bay. She had clearance to leave at any time. If they moved fast, they could evacuate before the high command ships arrived. But there was a problem. Junho, the human translator who worked for the Velkari, was still assigned to the station. He had access to communication systems. He could alert high command. We need to secure him first, Doyen said. They found Junho in his quarters. When he saw Mira and Doyen together, he knew something was wrong. He reached for his communication device. Doyen was faster. Don't, Doyen said, blocking his path. We're evacuating. You can come with us or stay here, your choice. You're escaping. They'll know I helped you. We'll take you with us. You'll be safe. Junho laughed bitterly. Safe? Where? I betrayed humanity by working for the Velkari. Now you want me to betray them too? I have nowhere to go. Then make a different choice. Help us because it's the right thing to do, not because you're surviving. You don't understand. I'm not like you. I don't risk my life for others. I just survive. Mira spoke quietly. I understand that mindset. It is how I lived my entire life. Until I met Captain Doyen. He showed me there is more to existence than mere survival. Junho looked between them. If I come with you, I can never go back. To either side. No, Doyen agreed. But you can go forward. Help us build something new. After a long moment, Junho nodded. The evacuation began. The human team moved quickly, gathering essential equipment and data. Jiwan and the other Velkari volunteers helped load the ship. Everyone worked in tense silence, knowing they had limited time. Hana was brought to the ship by a trusted crew member. She did not understand what was happening, only that her mother looked scared. Mira held her daughter tight, whispering reassurances. They were loading the last supplies when sensors detected incoming ships. The High Command fleet had arrived early. Someone had warned them. We need to leave now, Jiwan said from the bridge. If they get a weapons lock, we're finished. Mira made the decision. Seal the ship. Prepare for emergency departure. But they were not fast enough. The station's docking clamps locked down. High Command had transmitted override codes. They were trapped. Can you break the clamps? Doyen asked. Not without damaging the ship. We would not make it to hyperspace. Through the view screen, they watched as Velkari military shuttles launched from the incoming ships. Boarding parties. In minutes, they would storm the station. Doyen looked at Mira. She had risked everything, her career, her life, her daughter's future, all to do what she thought was right. He could not let her sacrifice be for nothing. "The power conduits," he said suddenly. "The ones that run through the docking bay. If we overload them, it would disrupt the magnetic clamps." "It would also disable life support to half the station," Mira said. "How long until it could be restored?" 3 hours, maybe 4. Long enough for us to escape. Not long enough to kill anyone if they activate emergency protocols. They looked at each other. It was risky. People could get hurt, but everyone on the station was evacuating to safe zones already, alerted by the incoming military presence. Doyen made his way to the station's engineering section. Mira went with him. The rest of the team prepared the ship for immediate launch. The engineering controls were protected, but Doyen's skills and Mira's command codes got them access. He started rerouting power, building up a surge that would overload the entire circuit. 30 seconds, he said. "As soon as this blows, run for the ship." "Doyen." Mira put her hand on his arm. "Thank you for showing me a better way. Thank you for believing it was possible." He triggered the overload, and they ran. Behind them, power conduits exploded in cascades of sparks. The lights died. Emergency systems struggled to compensate. And in the docking bay, the magnetic clamps released. Mira's ship launched immediately. Through the view screen, they saw Velkari military shuttles changing course to intercept. But G1 was already plotting a hyperspace jump. They needed just a few more seconds. An explosion rocked the ship. One of the military shuttles had gotten close enough to fire. "Hull breach on deck 3. Alarms screamed. Sealing affected sections," G1 reported. "But we took damage. Hull integrity at 70%. Another hit. The ship shook violently. Mira was thrown against a bulkhead. She cried out as her injured leg gave way. Doyen caught her before she fell completely. "Get to hyperspace," Mira ordered through gritted teeth. "Jump in 10 seconds, Jiwan counted down. 9, 8. More weapons fire. The ship's shields were failing. Debris from a damaged section tore free and tumbled through the corridor. Doyen saw it coming. He pushed Mira aside. The debris slammed into his chest with terrible force. He felt ribs crack. Could not breathe. The world tilted sideways. 2, 1. Jumping. The stars stretched and everything went white. They were away. Safe. Free. Doyen collapsed to the deck, his chest on fire. The last thing he saw before passing out was Hana's terrified face looking down at him, and Mira reaching for him with tears in her eyes. 6 months later, the neutral station called Sanctuary floated in deep space, far from both human and Velkari territories. It had started as a temporary refuge. Now it was becoming something more. A community. A promise. A beginning. Doyen stood at the observation window of what they now called the Common Hall. His ribs had healed, though they ached when the weather changed. In space, weather did not change, but the ache remained anyway. A reminder of what the escape had cost. Below him in the station's main plaza, he watched children playing. Human and Velkari together. Anna was there, taller now, teaching a human boy how to draw in the Velkari style. The boy was teaching her human games in return. Their laughter echoed through the corridors. "She has adapted well," Mira said, joining him at the window. She still used a cane but walked more easily now. Human and Velkari medical knowledge combined had helped her leg heal better than either species could have managed alone. "Kids adapt faster than adults," Doyen said. "They don't carry all the old prejudices. Perhaps that is humanity's real strength. The ability to change, to grow." Mira watched her daughter play. "She asked me yesterday if you would walk her to class. She said you were like a second father to her." Doyen felt his throat tighten. "What did you tell her?" "I told her you would be honored." "Was I wrong?" "No, I would be honored." They stood in comfortable silence. It was strange how natural this felt now. Standing beside someone who had been his enemy, his captor, and was now his friend. Maybe more than friend. But neither of them had named it yet. There was time for that. Jawan approached carrying a datapad, her expression excited. "The latest communication from the underground network just arrived. You need to see this." She pulled up reports from deep inside Velkari territory. Over the past 6 months, a quiet revolution had been spreading. Small groups of Velkari questioning the old ways, refusing orders that demanded cruelty, helping enemies instead of killing them. It had started with the Velkari crew members who had served with Mira. They had returned to their units and told stories about the humans who saved lives without expecting reward, about Captain Doyen who had risked everything for a child that was not his own. Some commanders had executed these crew members as traitors, but others had listened, had wondered, had started asking questions about whether survival at any cost was truly the only way. There are now 47 documented incidents of Velkari forces taking prisoners instead of executing them. Jiwan read from the report. 16 cases of battlefield medics treating enemy wounded. 8 units have refused orders to destroy civilian targets. High Command must be furious, Mira said. They are, but they cannot stop it. The ideas are spreading faster than they can contain them. Every time they execute someone for showing mercy, 3 more start questioning why mercy is a crime. Doyen thought about that. One act of compassion 6 months ago had rippled outward. He had saved one child, and that single choice had somehow changed the thinking of hundreds, maybe thousands of Velkari. What about the human side? He asked. Jiwon switched reports. Better. Command has received 42 requests for diplomatic talks. 3 sectors have agreed to limited ceasefires. The propaganda value of your story has been significant. Humans want to believe we can make peace. It is not propaganda if it is true, Mira said quietly. A young Velkari officer approached, saluting Mira. She had stopped using Velkari military protocols months ago, but old habits remained for some. Commander, the delegation from Human Fleet Command has arrived. They are requesting the meeting begin. Mira nodded. Tell them we will be there shortly. After the officer left, Doyen turned to Mira. Are you ready for this? To address both human and Velkari representatives and propose a formal peace framework? No, I am terrified. She smiled slightly. But I am going to do it anyway. You taught me that fear is not a reason to avoid doing what is right. They walked together through the station's corridors. Sanctuary had grown significantly in 6 months. What started with 23 refugees now housed nearly 200. Humans who believed in peace. Velkari who wanted a different future. Scientists, soldiers, families, all living together, learning from each other. The meeting hall was full when they arrived. Representatives from 12 human sectors sat on one side. Velkari from 16 underground cells sat on the other. In the middle, neutral observers from 3 other species who had been watching the human-Velkari conflict with concern. Junho was there too, serving as an official translator now. He had found his purpose in building bridges between languages and cultures. He still struggled with the idea of selfless action, but he was trying. That was progress. Mira walked to the center of the room. All conversation stopped. Everyone watched her, some with hope, some with suspicion, some with curiosity. 6 months ago, I was a loyal officer of the Velkari Empire, she began. I believed in victory at any cost. I believed compassion was weakness. I believed the only thing that mattered was survival and strength. She paused, looking around the room. Then I met Captain Doyen. He saved my daughter's life for no reason except that she was a child in danger. He refused to betray his people even under threat. He saved my life when I was his enemy and his captor. Every action he took contradicted everything I believed about how the universe worked. Doyen watched from the side of the room as Mira spoke. He saw the Velkari representatives leaning forward, listening. Some looked skeptical. Others looked thoughtful. I spent weeks trying to understand his motives. I analyzed every possibility. Strategic deception, psychological warfare, elaborate manipulation, but the truth was simpler and more revolutionary than any of those explanations. Mira's voice grew stronger. He acted without self-interest because he believed it was right. That concept does not exist in Velkari culture. We have laws, but not morality. We have strategy, but not compassion. A Velkari representative stood. Commander Mira, you speak of abandoning our ways, of becoming weak like humans. I speak of becoming strong in a new way, Mira responded. Look at this station. Humans and Velkari working together have achieved things neither could alone. Our medical techniques combined save more lives. Our technology combined is more advanced. Our children learn from both cultures and become wiser than either. Children who are infected with dangerous ideas, another Velkari said. Children who draw pictures of peace instead of war, Mira countered. Tell me which is more dangerous, a child who dreams of cooperation, or a child raised to see every other being as an enemy? The debate continued for hours. Arguments and counter-arguments, evidence and philosophy. But slowly something shifted. The humans and Velkari stopped shouting across the room and started talking to each other. During a break, one of the human admirals approached Doyun. "This is your doing, Captain. Your actions started all of this. I just saved a kid from a fire. You showed an entire species a different way to exist. That is not a small thing." The admiral looked at the mixing crowds, humans and Velkari sharing food and conversation. "Command wants to know if you will serve as a formal ambassador to the Velkari people." "I'm just a soldier. You are the soldier who changed a war by refusing to let a child die. I cannot think of anyone better suited for the role." Doyen looked across the room at Mira. She was speaking with a group of young Velkari, pointing at a star chart and explaining something with animated gestures. Hana was there too, translating when needed, proud of her mother. "I will do it," Doyen said, "but only if Commander Mira serves as co-ambassador. This cannot be one species teaching the other. It has to be both learning together." The admiral smiled. "I will recommend it to command." The meeting resumed. By the end of the day, they had accomplished something unprecedented. A preliminary framework for peace. Not a treaty yet, not even an official ceasefire, but an agreement to keep talking, to keep learning from each other, to stop killing long enough to see if there was a better way. As the delegates departed, promising to bring the framework to their respective leaders, Doyen found himself alone with Mira in the now empty meeting hall. "Do you think it will work?" she asked. "Can we truly end this war?" "I do not know. But 6 months ago you would have said this meeting was impossible. A year ago you would have executed me for saving Hana. Things change. Because of you. Because you were willing to change. That took more courage than anything I did." Mira stepped closer. "I have been thinking about something you said once. About being part of something bigger than yourself. I spent my whole life fighting for individual glory and Velkari supremacy. Now I fight for something else. What is that? A future where my daughter does not have to choose between her human friends and her Velkari heritage. Where she can have both. Where maybe someday those categories will not even matter anymore. That is a good thing to fight for. Will you fight for it with me? Not as soldier and enemy. Not even as friends. But as partners. Building something new." Doyen thought about everything that had brought them here. The burning vehicle. The interrogations. The rescue. The escape. All of it had led to this moment, standing in an empty room with someone who understood what it meant to choose hope over certainty. "Yes," he said simply. "I will." Through the windows of the meeting hall, stars glittered against the darkness. Somewhere out there, the war continued.